Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? We are back again with another episode. This is the Class in Session podcast. I am your host, Logan Taylor, with my amazing co host, my partner in crime, Mr. Dontay Hampton. Dontay, would you mind introducing our guest?
All right, guys. We have a special guest today, coming way out of right outside of Knoxville. That's where he's from, East Tennessee, to be exact. He was born and raised by a career public school teacher and a principal. So he's been around public education for a long time. He got his bachelor degree at Leeds McRae, and then he got his master's at UTK. Is that correct? And then he went on to study law at Columbia University. So he spent 5 years teaching, leading up in Harlem, New York. And then something along that way pulled him all the way back to where we're currently from, Chattanooga, Tennessee. And he designed a new school alongside the community with the approval of Chatt-Academy Community School, which opens up in 2023. Nolan, thanks for having us. Can you give us just a little bit more information about yourself, or as in how you even got into education?
Yeah, definitely. So like you said, I was raised by a public school teacher. So a lot of times I joke with people that I spent more time in a school building than I did at home. And I just think being raised by a teacher and who later became a principal, we were just raised on the importance of public education. And we really understood from an early age the power of public education in creating opportunities for individual kids and then just bigger communities. So I think that was always in the back of my mind. But at first I thought I wanted to be an attorney. And it was always about advocating for kids. I thought I wanted to be a juvenile attorney. And sort of fight that fight. And then it just became clearer and clearer as I went through law school that the impact I actually wanted to have was going to happen in a classroom and not in a courtroom. So made that transition, haven't looked back since, and it's been great.
I love that. I think that that's amazing. I love that. What so let's just get right into it. What made you want to start a charter school? For those that don't know, Nolan is actually getting ready to launch a school next August, um, and they are K through 12. And so I think that that's amazing. And so I want to first say congratulations for that. That's such a big honor to bring another resource to the city and add a positive impact to the community, because we know that the resources and things like that are needed. So could you just touch on that and go in as to why you started Chatt-Academy?
Yeah, I think why a charter school, I view charter schools sort of as part of the public education landscape, but also a place where new ideas can be sort of tried out as like an incubator of sorts. And you can move pretty quickly. You can try out innovative ideas, new things that are kind of on the cutting edge of education research. And they really can be like great opportunities for whole communities to try out new ideas, which is kind of core to what we're doing at Chatt-Academy. So what led our process is we decided from the get-go, not only did we want to be an innovative school, but we wanted to innovate on the design process. So we kind of suspended all of our own beliefs about what we thought a great school was or what was most important about a good public school. And we just decided we were going to listen to the community. So we met with parent after parent and community leader after community leader and just said, if you could design the perfect school for Chattanooga, what would it be? And surprisingly, what came out was that people were really looking for a bilingual school, and they felt like there weren't any opportunities for that in Hamilton County at the time. We weren't planning on opening a bilingual school, but we were planning on opening a school that was designed by the community. So we went with that, and it kind of took off, and it caught like wildfire, and it's gotten us a lot of momentum, a lot of support, and people are pretty excited about it. So why we set out to do this was just to innovate and incubate new ideas, and it's been really cool to see that those new ideas have come straight from the community.
I think that that's dope. Like I think that that's so dope. Like that's big. That's really big. So, you know, again, I commend you for that because that's amazing. I know it's tough. I know the journey has been long. And I know you got to do, I know it's a lot of work that you got to do to be able to open up a school, right? Especially of that magnitude of, you know, starting a charter school and things of that nature. So let me ask you, with starting, you know, a charter school, what has been one common myth um, about opening up a school that you kind of was just like, wow, like I didn't know that, or I didn't, you know, I didn't think people believe that, or different things of that nature. What has been a common myth that kind of, you know, opened your mind?
Yeah, I think the biggest myth, specifically around charter schools, is that they're private. So charter schools can't charge tuition. They can't test kids to come in. It's all based on a blind lottery. So kids just have to put their name in the hat and then they get randomly drawn out. You can't make preferences in your lottery. So you can't base it on neighborhood. You can't base it on language spoken at home. You can't base it on anything. It's every kid is 1-to-1 and then they get pulled out of the hat. So I think, and you just you operate off public funds. So you get the public money from the state and the district. So I think that's been one common myth, is that they're private. And really they're public schools that have a little bit more flexibility to try out new ideas. So I think that's myth. And I think the thing that probably has caught me most off guard about doing this and starting a school from the ground up is how much I didn't know. I've had to learn a lot in the last 18 months. I think I was a school leader before doing this. And when you're a school leader, you just get really tunnel vision into the day-to-day operations of school and making better environments for kids. And this process has been a lot of, I've drawn on my background in law. I've had to learn a lot of finance. I've had to learn a lot about facilities acquisition. So I think it's just been 18 months of nonstop learning, which has been difficult, but it's also been a lot of fun.
I like that. Come on, Dontay, jump in.
All right, Nolan. So with the Chat Academy, will y'all start out just K-5, or how will y'all start?
Yeah, we're actually starting as a middle school. So we're going to start with grades 6 and 7 next August with about 150 kids. After that, each year we'll add a new group of 100 kids until we get 6 to 12, at which point we'll start evaluating, do we need an elementary school? How are things going in the middle and high? And sort of make adjustments from there.
Okay, awesome. Now, my question would be, how do you feel about coming to the gig city of Chattanooga with Chattanooga growing, and we already have so many schools in Chattanooga? Like, we got Chat Prep, we got CGLA, we got Normal Park, Creative Arts, CSAS, you got Tynan Academy getting a new school, you got historic schools like Brainerd, you got Howard Connect, which is downtown, already in the center of it all. You got Signal Mountain, who's already secluded. You got Red Bank, Lookout. I can keep going. So how do y'all make sure that you get, I guess, pull a good group, since it's being blind, with a lottery, or just sell yourself to where people want to figure out more about Chat Academy?
Yeah, definitely. A pillar of what we're trying to do is collaboration with other public schools and trying to do work that no one else is doing. Like, as you said, there are a lot of great schools in Hamilton County and a lot of people doing really great work. So it was important to us that we do something different that added an option instead of just trying to replicate something that was already going on, which is why when this bilingual model came up, that was really exciting to us, because we knew there wasn't a public school in Hamilton County that offered a bilingual program. And really, there's only one private school that does, and it's just K-5, which was part of our reasoning of starting in middle school. Was we knew there were no middle highs, and there actually are no bilingual public schools in all of East Tennessee. There are only 3 others across the state. So I think that's
Wow.
what's I think that's what's exciting to us is this is new, and it's not just new in Hamilton County, it's new across the entire state, and we're the only school to try it in a middle school space. So I think that's what I would say to people considering Chatt-Academy is there is nothing like this in our entire region.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Now, what y'all doing a lottery? So let's say I live in Ray County or I live in Cleveland, am I applicable to apply as well?
Under Tennessee law, preference has to be given to kids living in Hamilton County. So the first preference goes to kids in the district. If we ever ran into a situation where it doesn't fill with kids in Hamilton County, you can start applying for waivers for kids to come in out of district. But because we were approved by Hamilton County, so we are a Hamilton County school. So first preference is given to kids living in the district.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. What you got, Lo? I seen you mine over there.
I think that's dope. I didn't know that with the lottery and things of that nature. That was interesting to know, and especially interesting to hear that kids in Hamilton County, because you all are approved Hamilton County school, that Hamilton County kids get first dibs. And so I thought that was very interesting and quite intriguing to learn about. And so let me ask you, what has been your biggest struggle with wanting to start Chatt-Academy and things of that nature? Of course, you talked about you all being the only school in East Tennessee that is a bilingual middle school. And I think that's massive, right? You said there's not many in the state of Tennessee. I think you said there were 3, if I'm not mistaken. And so I think that's major to be able to have that opportunity to really recreate history, right? And to make history. And so what has been a big struggle with creating Chatt-Academy? Can you touch on that?
Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes the current struggle you're in always seems like the biggest struggle. So if I were to answer it right now, I would say finding a facility. I think like slow growth charters are tough to find a facility because in year 1, you have 150 kids, but in 4 years, you're going to have 700. So it's difficult to make a facilities plan for that. And I think to Dontay's point, the city is growing a ton and the development scene is also very rapid. Like the facilities hunt is competitive right now, just because space is hard to come by when a city is growing to that degree. So I would say that is the present challenge, is just finding our first space while also trying to find permanent space. But I think if I think the whole 18 months holistically, the charter application in Tennessee is intense. It's about 400 pages long, and you write every word of it. It's not like fill in the blank or anything like that. So that I would say that's an unknown part of the challenge of starting this school, is that the application is actually incredibly difficult and takes a ton of time and work to even be able to apply to the school district. Takes a lot of work.
Wow. Wow. Didn't even know that. So 400 pages, you had to fill out 400 pages. Is there like a deadline, in regards to wanting to make sure that you have everything on time and making sure all your I's are dotted and all your T's are crossed? Like, can you go into that process and talk about what that looks like with filling out, 400 pages and things of that nature?
Yeah, definitely. There are several deadlines throughout the whole process. On December 1st, so last December 1st, we submitted a letter of intent to Hamilton County to give them a heads up that we were going to apply. And from that point, they start assembling a review team that's going to review the application. The application is due on February 1st. And you have to turn in printed and digital copies of the whole application. After the application is submitted, about, let's say, a month and a half after that, myself and my board members sat for a capacity interview with the review committee, where they got to ask us questions about our application, about our plans, and sort of just about our capacity to pull off this huge endeavor. And then from there, that committee makes a recommendation to the school board, and they either say, yes, this applicant has met all the criteria and we think they should get approved, or we think some work and resubmit at a different time. From there, the school board votes at their April meeting. And that's really where that's the final decision, is if they're going to approve or not. So we got approved in April, and we were actually the only school in the state that got approved in April. There were about 16 applications across the state, and we were the only one that made it through in April. It is a very daunting process, and it's incredibly difficult to do.
Okay. All right. I'm picking up what you're laying down, Nolan. I'm seeing the vision. I'm seeing what's going on. Let me ask you this. What will be the curriculum that you all use? Will you all pick your own curriculum? Is it something that, is it going to be something that like specifically only charter schools use, or is it a curriculum that, the public education system use, like Hamilton County? You know what I'm saying? Can you touch on that? Can you take a dive into that and touch on that, like what that would look like?
Yeah, it's going to be sort of a combination of a few of those things. So we are going to develop our own in-house curriculum around our STEM classes. We're taking a problem-based approach. So our focus is really kind of to support kids to become really great problem solvers by the time they graduate from our school. So less about memorizing content, less about traditional schooling, more about real world contextual problems, and just letting kids be problem solvers every single day when they walk into class, and making the learning really applicable to real world situations. We sort of think if you can prepare a kid to do one thing in life that's going to be super dynamic and helpful to them, it's to be a great problem solver, no matter what path they choose after high school. If you're a great problem solver, you can make a lot of things happen for yourself. So I think under our STEM part of our program, we'll develop a lot of that in-house. In our humanities, we'll probably use some things that the district uses a curriculum called expeditionary learning for their ELA classes. It's really good. It's really high quality. People all across the country use it. It's great reviews. So we'll probably use some of that. And it'll also just make it easier if a kid has been in a Hamilton County school K-5, that part at least will be consistent when they come to our school, which we think is important for kids when they're transitioning between schools, is something that is a little more familiar. So we're going to do a little bit of different things across the curriculum.
All right, Dontay, what you got, man? Come on.
So my question would be, I'm just more interested because this is our platform is to talk with educators and, let people use our platform to explain a little bit more. I know you touched on as far as a charter school not being a private school, but can you explain that a little more? Let's say I'm a parent, what makes me want to go to Chatt-Academy, and why wouldn't I go to Chat Prep or somewhere? Can you fully go a little more in detail on the bilingual situation there, just so our listeners and everybody can fully understand, parents at home as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think Hamilton County is really lucky in that there are a lot of options for parents in the public school system. There are a lot of different choices for parents to choose from, which is great because every kid and every family is different and unique. And yeah, they have different needs, different desires. So I think having that menu of options is really great for a school district. Chat Prep's thing is that it's all boys. That's sort of their unique distinguishing thing. CGLA, all girls. The Montessori school has a full unique curricular model in that elementary school. So what would make a parent choose us, I think at first glance, would be our bilingual model. What we're trying to do that is different than most bilingual models is we want 50% of the students to be native Spanish speakers and 50% to be native English speakers. And then they learn each other's language across. And both groups are sort of teaching each other. about their native language. And what we think that will do is not only will every kid graduate bilingual, which is a huge asset to have in today's world, but we also think it will just sort of increase the value of being bilingual, and it will start to be viewed as an immense asset. And I think anytime you can put kids in a position to teach and make them the expert, it's an incredibly powerful experience for a kid. Is sort of to be the one that has something to offer that's really valuable. So I would say to a parent, we're the only bilingual school in Hamilton County and in East Tennessee. But I think beyond that, we're also approaching bilingualism because all the research says that kids who learn in bilingual environments actually are just more creative and more flexible thinkers because their mind is thinking in double the time because they're learning in 2 different languages. So then by the time they have to solve a problem in their native language, that's almost easy to them because their brain has been working in 2 different languages all this time.
I like that. That's dope. That's dope. That's real dope. Go ahead, Dontay.
Yeah, that's good. That's as far as value, I really like that. That learning each other's language. Like I said, I'm trying to learn a little more Spanish myself. When I'm in logistics as well, so we have a Mexico team, so I try and bounce stuff off of them as well. But I think that would be incredible for a 16-year-old to literally speak fluently Spanish going into the work field after college, and that's an asset you can put on your resume. I know for a fact it's tons of jobs looking out there for people who are literally just looking for. You can literally make $100K if you can speak Spanish. And people have no idea. Same thing with sign language. But it's just crazy. So I really like that. What you was gonna say, Lo? Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, I just thought the way that he verbalized everything, like, I was just imagining in my head what that looks like, right? And I just thought that's extremely dope to be able to want to. You have a problem, you have found the problem, and now you're like, okay, here's the solution to the problem, and here's how we can help this problem be eradicated if we do X, Y, and Z. And so I thought that was the model in which you were explaining, Nolan. Like, I really thought that was extremely dope. And so again, man, listen, I tip my hat to you. You get a hand clap from me. Like, bro, I thought that was really dope. So let me ask you this. If it was one thing that you could change with being in the education system, what would that one thing be, right? And now when I say this is for everybody across all 50 states that work in the education space, whether if it's public, whether if it's private, charter, all boys school, all girls school. If you were to meet with the Secretary of Education tomorrow and he says, hey, Nolan, what is the one thing you want us to change? We will implement it immediately. What would that one thing be?
Yeah, that would be an incredible opportunity to be able to do that. When I thought about this question, I talked earlier that I was raised by an educator. So obviously I talked this over with my mom. And I think, especially after the design of Chatt-Academy and sort of what we've gone through, I think the thing that I have found is most powerful is when you put communities in a driver's seat and let them sort of drive policy changes, let them drive curriculum and things like parents know what they want for their kids. Communities know and see on a day-to-day basis what's going to move their community forward. And they're just on the ground. They understand the shifting dynamics of a community and where it's going and where it's been, both of which are very important. So I think if I could make one change, it would be that anytime policies are made, anytime laws are passed that affect public schools, that educators from a diverse set of communities are brought to the table to give input. I think teachers are incredibly talented. Teachers work very hard, and they know their kids. They know the families that they work with. They know the communities that they're in. And if anyone is in a great position to make policy moves about what's going to actually impact kids, teachers are the ones that can make those decisions. So I think if I could make one sweeping change across the country, it would be to bring these incredibly talented people to the table, and let them make local decisions and let them make have input on the policies that are going to affect kids on a day-to-day basis.
I don't think we ever had that answer. So I think that's different, to bring in people in from the community and allow them to give insight and input on policy changes, because you have people that, for example, you have people that have never been to an inner city school, but you're trying to tell people how an inner city school needs to be ran, instead of bringing people that actually work in that inner city school or that live in that community and be able to allow them to give input on what will work best for, the scholars that go to that school. So I think that that's amazing. We've never had that answer. And so I think that, like I said, that's amazing. And that was a dope response. And so, again, man, tell your mom I said thank you, because I know she gave you some insight. So tell her I said thank you, and we really appreciate that. And that was a really dope answer. Dontay, you wanna touch on it? What you got?
Yeah, I think that's a unique perspective as far as bringing in the community. I don't know how that would be organized, with the government and all, but I think that's a good perspective as far as getting input from the community, because no school, like in today's time, people overlook the community, when in reality, no school can be really successful without the community. That's how schools grow and have these traditions for hundreds of years, or pride, or people come back. That's how a lot of private schools, honestly, continue to be successful. It's because of their community. You got your alumni coming back, whether they be successful from having a great business. Hey, we're going to donate stuff here. Our family comes on that Friday for sports events and, whatever it may be, an orchestra event, and people just pouring back, into the school. So I think the community is where it's at. So I really liked it that. Lo, you want to take that break, man? Just let everybody know what they can do as far as tapping in with the Class in Session podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So 1 second, Nolan, we got to pay some bills, and then we'll come back and we'll finish with the podcast. Hey, listen, guys, this is the Class in Session podcast. I'm going to say it again in case y'all did not hear me or understand, okay? This is the Class in Session podcast, all right? And listen, we need you to do 3 things for us. And these 3 things are so important. We need you to like, subscribe, and leave a comment, okay? We need you to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. We need you to do those 3 things, all right? And listen, if you love what we're doing over here with the Class in Session podcast, share it with your network. You love the value that we're adding. Share it with your network. You love the impact that we're making. Share it with your network and your community. Because again, at the end of the day, it's all about serving for us. And so we want to add value and make an impact in not just our community, but in communities across the world, all right? So again, guys, this is the Class in Session podcast, and make sure you subscribe, all right? Dontay, let's get back on it.
All right. So Nolan, we asked everybody this question. You can answer however you see fit. Is there a value or a number you think educators could make? Now, you can go from teachers all the way up to teachers all the way up to principals, to superintendents, however you want to break it down. But is there a number or a value you think you can put on for our educators right now, with burnout going so crazy, the lack of teachers, the lack of people that just want to be in education in general because they're so undervalued? So is there a number you think that can make this thing balance, I would say?
Oof. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't know.
We just so you know, it's no pressure over here.
Yeah.
You can answer this how you want to. We don't judge you. Logan will let you know what he say, what he thinks, and it might make you smile. So
okay,
there's no judgment over here.
Yeah. I think I have an interesting perspective on this. I grew up in a house of an educator. I've also sat in the principal seat, and I know what the budget looks like, and I know what like the dollars coming in and what you even have available to do with salaries, and then what's also completely out of your control. But I've also taught, and I know how hard it is and how much time it takes. And I think, there's this common myth: teachers get summers off, they have weekends, and really none of that's true. Like, you don't really ever have time off. You're working all the time. And when you're not working, you're worried about the kids that you teach. And like the emotional part of being a teacher is also incredibly difficult. So I think right now is an especially hard time to be an educator, given the last 3 to 4 years has made it even more challenging and even heavier. And there is a huge burnout problem. I do think the burnout problem, though, could be fixed a lot with paying teachers what they're worth and paying them for what they add to communities. I think if we think about transforming and improving communities, there's no more important job than an educator. Like, they're opening access doors for kids. They're preparing kids to tackle problems in their communities. If we think about who shapes a community the most, it is the educators. So I don't know that I'm prepared to throw out a dollar amount, but I think their wages should be as valuable as attorneys, as doctors, as engineers. I think they add that kind of value to a community, and that the price tag should match the impact that they have on their communities.
So you're saying, based on that comparison, so basically you're saying that it should be at least over $60K, correct? Is that a good, fair assessment?
Oh yeah, absolutely, definitely over that. Yeah.
All right. So we got you. All right, go ahead, Lo.
I mean, my number not changing. I've been saying this since the very beginning. Teachers need to be teachers. I ain't talking about administrators right now. Teachers need to be paid a minimum of $80K. And I'm gonna keep saying that because I like the way teachers are valued, it isn't even fair. It's not fair at all. They make the most impact outside of people's parents, right? They do so many hours, right? They do so much, right? Like, me and Dontay have conversations, Nolan, and he talks about a lady that changed his life by the name of Miss Chapman. And Miss Chapman, man, listen, to me, I ain't even met the lady personally, but to me, it's like, I'm like, yo, like, I wish she would have been my teacher. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wish I would have had the opportunity to experience the greatness that she holds. And I could just imagine, like, you get somebody that works in an inner city school, they're only getting paid $30,000 a year, but they putting in over 60 hours a week, right? Like, I had a speaking engagement in Detroit, and I went to an Islamic school, and it was my first time going. It was my first time ever experiencing something like that. And a teacher told me, she said, Logan, she said, I'm putting in 70 hours a week. 70 hours a week, and I'm only getting paid for 40. That's not fair. But we say that, our kids are the next generation. We want to empower them so much. We want to make sure that they have the resources and things like that. Well, let's have the resources for the teachers. Because if we pay them enough and we show them their value, then now they don't have to go get a second job. Now they can actually focus on teaching and putting in all of their energy, time, resources, efforts, all of that into making sure that our babies that they are the best, citizens to this community that they can be, that they're the best students that they can possibly be. Right. So I feel like, like, if we pay teachers what they worth, like, now they start to help kids really hone in on their greatness. And so, for me, like I said, 80K bare minimum, and then go up from there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, your administrators can get paid 150,000, right? Like, we got a superintendent for Hamilton County. If I'm not mistaken, he's making $250,000 a year. He could be getting paid more. So for me, I feel like, yo, the bare minimum needs to be 80K and then go from there. And of course, Dontay and what he touches on, which, I'm gonna allow him to do that here in a second. He talks about systems and stuff like that. And so I feel like, if you can incorporate that 80K with the systems that Dontay talks about, now we can start to move in the right direction and really show teachers how much we value them.
I just think everything needs I'm big on automations and stuff right now. So I think everything needs to be systematic with the way the world is going with technology and everything. So the reason why teachers are undervalued is because there's no system. There's no backbone for education. If I'm a teacher nowadays, it's not the same if I was a teacher 20 years ago. It's probably not the same if I was a teacher 10 years ago. Like the ladder to be a principal it's a million ways. You go through dean of students, or you can, hey, you've been a teacher 10 years. Now we think you can do this. So just no systems in place. And so I think, to show that teachers are appreciated is to have securities in place. Can we get you a home? Is there a home system? Is there a transportation system? Is there a necessity as far as foods, discounts on food, healthcare, things of that nature? If you can balance all that out and bump up the pay just a little bit, your talent pool is a lot higher. Like people don't understand. A lot of people who work in insurance or work for Blue Cross and all these people, Unum, most of the time they're literally working there only for the benefits of the job. So it's like, if my benefits are very high, then more than likely I can sustain that job. But if I'm just pouring into empty cups and I'm doing it out of passion, well, some people passion runs out. And so if that passion runs out, you don't really have much. So that's where I'm at with it. Of course, teachers can get paid more. They should be, but it don't has to be, like Logan said, it don't have to be 80, but it has to be at least 50 or 60 with benefits. Because
having some technical difficulties. He froze up a little bit, but like he said, with the benefits and things like that, for the teachers, just having proper systems in place. And so, whether if it's a housing vehicle program, like that'll help ease some of the tension that, most teachers have to deal with and focus on. So I think that, stuff like that is important. So let me ask you this. What is one piece of advice you would give to someone that's wanting to start out to create a school, right? Because of course, with you being the executive director and the founder of Chat Academy, I know there are a bunch of things that you've had to experience. And so what would be one piece of advice that you would give someone that was interested in wanting to do something of your magnitude?
Yeah, I think the first piece of advice I would give is just to listen. I think like the power of listening to people and the momentum you can create just by authentically listening to people is unmatched. I think that's been my greatest lesson over the last year and a half is listening is an action. It's not passive. It has to be super active. And the more that you can communicate to people that you actually are listening to their lived experiences and actually making decisions based on their lived experiences is just incredibly powerful. Whether you're starting a school from scratch, whether you're running a school that's been open for 10 years, or if you're running a school that's like historically entrenched in a community and has this super rich history, listening is still powerful, and making sure that listening is an actual tangible action. And then I think more specifically around founding a school, the advice that I would give is that no single day is going to tank your project, but a single day could make your project take off. So like just maintaining that balanced mindset about just the grind that sometimes starting something brand new takes is, while nothing is going to happen in any given day that's going to stop your dream from coming true, every day is an opportunity for something to happen that makes it come true.
I like that. That's okay. All right. I'm picking up what you're laying down. I like that. Okay. So listening, that would be the biggest thing. Listening, and just making sure that you're doing the work and understand that, you know, either one day doesn't necessarily mean that your school isn't going to happen. Um, but if you change, if you pivot, right, that one day could mean that your school could take off and catapult to a whole nother level. So I thought that was amazing. Um, let's touch on. So we talked about the curriculum. We've talked about why you wanted to start the school. We've also talked about, just to, you know, recap a little bit for people that may have just started listening. We have Nolan McDaniel here. He is the founder and executive director of Chatt-Academy. It is a middle school. They will be starting. The middle school is 6th through 12th grade. They start in August of next year, but they will start out with 6th and 7th grade students, and then each year they will add on to that. So I think that you know, that's really dope. Again, man, I tip my hat to you. I want to give you, you know, over here at Y.B.Normal, we want to give you your flowers. I want to give you your flowers. Dontay wants to give you your flowers and say thank you for answering the calling.
Absolutely.
Thank you for pouring into our community. Thank you for pouring into our babies, because we, you know, I think that is dope to be able for our babies to have choices, right? Instead of saying, like, you know, because I know when I was in school, right, like where I lived at, you know, I was zoned for, you know, a certain school, and my grandmother didn't want me to go to that school. So it was like, hey, you can't go to this school. I want you to go to this predominantly white school, because she felt like, oh, you'll get a better education that way. And so I think that it's dope that, you know, our babies are having these opportunities to be able to pick and say, hey, I want to go to Chatt-Academy, or hey, I want to go to Chat Prep, or hey, I want to go to CGLA to experience these different things that you necessarily probably wouldn't experience at a Signal Mountain, a Hickson, you know, a Tyner, and things of that nature. So I think that that's really dope. Dontay, you got anything?
No, man, you hit it on the head, man. For everyone that's in the local area, that's listening, just be on the lookout for it. For anybody that's big on as far as language, who's into like anthropology, STEM, things like that, I think Chatt-Academy will definitely be something you might want to look at as far as for your kids. Because I'm a person that everything's about fit. I don't care if you the smartest kid. I don't care if you the best athlete. Everything's about fit, and so it doesn't matter. So that's just my advice to a lot of people is don't turn away no school. Don't turn away Tyner Academy. Don't turn away Brainerd, Howard, CGLA, Arts Science, CSLA, Hickson, East Ridge, whatever the school is. Don't just turn your nose up at the school, because you never know what your kid might need from that particular school, and it won't be a private school. It might not be a charter school. You know, it might not even be a STEM school. It could be just a public school right down the street from you that your kid just fits that school. He meshes well with the students. He meshes well with the with the administration. And then a lot of times, a lot of public schools offer a lot of scholarships that we don't talk about. Tyner Academy you can take class at Chat State just like a regular public school. Some of these schools have partnerships with University of Tennessee, MTSU, TSU, Memphis, Austin P. All these, they have a lot of partnerships. So I just tell people all the time, don't turn your nose. So don't turn your nose up at Chatt-Academy. Figure out what exactly they have. Is it a fit? If it's not a fit, fine. But just be mindful of that and listen to, every option that you have. So Nolan, we're just very appreciative for you to even be on our platform and letting people know about the new bilingual school. This is the fourth school in Tennessee that's a bilingual school, because to be honest with you, I never heard of it. I always heard of bilingual and I thought of it was just an elective. you know, of kids just intervening with each other, bouncing ideas off each other with 2 different languages. So I just never heard of it from a full school. So that's just something unique right there, but that's really it.
Okay, cool. All right. Nolan, so let's one or two more questions and then we can get up out of here. Can you touch on STEM? Touch on STEM, why you chose STEM, what is STEM for the people that don't know? Could you touch on that? And then also, so it's 3 parts. What is STEM, right? Why did you all choose STEM as a charter school? And then I want you to also touch on um, what STEM could do, right? Because you talked about how you want 50-50 and you want them to be problem solvers. So can you touch on, with them being a problem solver, can you touch on how that ties into STEM and how the advantages and disadvantages and things of that nature, please?
Yeah, definitely. So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. There are some schools that will add an A into it, which is art, and they'll run a STEAM program. It's definitely a movement that's kind of gained a lot of momentum recently. So I would say we chose STEM as a core part of our model. I was a math teacher, so I have a warm spot for STEM. I think a lot of times math gets a bad rap in school. I think sort of the hill that I'll die on is that a lot of people will say, like, I'm just not a math person. And that's okay for people to say. But if someone said, like, I'm just not a reader, we would be like, what? That's not an option. You can't just not be a reader. And I sort of feel the same way about math. It's like, no, everyone's a math person. There just have to be different ways to like access math and get into it and understand that you can be a math person. So I think that's my personal tie to it, is just wanting to reinvent attitudes around STEM for kids, and that all kids can be STEM kids if there's a classroom environment that allows them to access that kind of material. I think our 50-50 bilingual model lends itself perfectly to a problem-solving model because all the research behind cognitive development in bilingual learners, it just positions them to be problem solvers in a way that monolingual learning environments doesn't prepare them. So I talked already about like the brain working double in a bilingual environment and how much that lends kids to being able to approach problems in really unique ways. Our take on STEM is almost exclusively through a problem-solving lens, and we really want it to be sort of local in nature. So, like, what are the local problems that we can approach through a STEM environment? So, like, if kids are taking environmental science, we talk about like the plastic density in the Tennessee River, and like that's a local problem that we are now tackling through our environmental science class, and making problem solving super relevant to kids in their lived community. So I think that's our approach to STEM, is almost exclusively problem based, and really letting kids sort of build those muscles so that whatever they choose, like if we have kids that choose to be musicians, if we have kids that choose like arts paths or humanities paths, we love that. We just want them to be equipped to tackle the problems that are going to come regardless of what path they choose after high school.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Let me ask you this: with STEM, can you touch on what are some advantages and what are some disadvantages in regards to STEM? In regards to STEM, excuse me, I said STEM because I'm thinking of A when you said the arts. But with STEM, what are some advantages and disadvantages? Because I want people to understand the concept behind it, right? Like you said, yes, we talk about science, but we talk about science from the local level in the community, right? So the Tennessee River and things of that nature. So can you just touch on that just a little bit? What are the advantages and disadvantages behind it?
Yeah, I think some of the advantages are, I think the world is moving into a pretty heavy STEM focused area. Like, I think the technical skills kids are required to have now are far beyond what they were even when I graduated high school. Like, the things kids are expected to be able to do now technologically are far beyond what they used to be. So I think a STEM model lends itself to prepare kids to be successful in a 21st century world, where some of those skills are sort of required now. I think it also, what we want to do through our local based curriculum is show kids that, like, a lot of community problems can be tackled through a STEM lens. STEM doesn't mean you're working in a lab. It doesn't mean that you're a doctor or an engineer. It's more a lens towards problem solving for the world. So there are a lot of community-based problems that if you sort of have this problem solving mindset and this STEM-based mindset, you can solve a lot of human problems just through that lens. I would say disadvantages are not every problem can be solved through a logical lens and through just like a problem solving steps. There are a lot of things that require really high levels of humanity and empathy, and just an understanding of people's lived experiences. And I think sometimes if you go really exclusively into this STEM model, that part can sort of be you can lose sight of that, and lose sight of just the human side of problem solving. And then I just think like CCA is a creative arts school. I think there's immense value in place for that. Like, there's a ton of beauty about the human experience that comes from the arts and from kids having those outlets of expression. So I would say that sometimes can be some disadvantages of an exclusively STEM model.
Okay, I like that. That's dope. That's dope. I like that. Dontay, you have any other questions before we get up out of here?
No, man. I just wanted to reiterate for our audience out there. As you can see, STEM has tons of value. So at a young age, I think we tend to forget, because I can remember like dealing with Legos, and and my mom used to kind of downplay it, like, no, Legos would never be nothing for you. But as I got into school, I used to want to fix things and things of that nature. And then I realized once I got to college, I was trying to be an engineer. Like, I did internships and stuff, but I realized like I couldn't play college ball and be an engineer. I just couldn't put the two together. As far as time management and everything, it just didn't work. I wasn't mature enough at the time, as I would say. But I just think people need to make sure to understand the value of STEM. It can actually add a lot of value to kids. So just for the audience out there, just keep that in mind. But that's really on my side.
All right, cool. Nolan, I need two things from you before we get up out of here, okay? Can you let our listeners know how they can get in contact with you? There might be somebody listening. They may say, hey, I want to start a school. I need to get with that guy, Nolan McDaniel, for Chatt-Academy, and see if he can extend some knowledge to me, some resources and things of that nature. So can you let people know how they can get in contact with you?
Yeah, definitely. Our website is Chatt-Academy.org. We're on Instagram and Facebook, just as Chatt-Academy Community School. And then I'm always happy to talk to people both about this process and about our school. And my email is just nolan.mcdaniel@chattacademy.org.
All right. And then the last thing, can you leave us with a piece of motivation, and then we are out of here?
Yeah, I think my piece of motivation after the last 18 months would be, I think people inside communities need to be empowered to tackle the problems that they see. I think that a lot of times people are conditioned to believe that that one person isn't powerful enough or isn't big enough to tackle some of the issues that communities are facing. And what I've learned is that a single community member and a single community voice can make a lot of difference. We wouldn't be a bilingual school if someone last October hadn't mentioned it to me. And that I think any single community member and any single voice can have the power to make immense change. So that would be my motivational thing, is to follow your gut. Like, if you feel like you've identified something that could really move the needle in your community, I would pursue it and find people that want to pursue it with you.
Y'all heard what he said, guys. Y'all heard what he said. He made it very simple, very plain. You want to make a change in your community, follow your gut, and get to it. All right? Listen, guys, Nolan, man, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for answering the calling. Again, man, I want to give you your flowers and let you know that you are phenomenal. You are amazing. And you doing this school will not be in vain. And also want to let you know that you matter and we see you. So again, thank you. Listen, guys, before we get up out of here, we had Nolan McDaniel of Chatt-Academy. All right. They start August of next year, and they will be starting out with 6th and 7th graders. All right. And they will add a grade each year. So make sure you all check it out. Be on the lookout for that for Chatt-Academy. And listen, guys, this is the Class in Session podcast. All right. I am your host, Logan Taylor, with my partner in crime, my brother, my amazing co-host, Mr. Dontay Hampton. And in closing, like we always say, Y.B.Normal.
Well, you can be extraordinary.
All right, guys, we'll see you next episode. Peace. Love y'all. Peace.